Hi everyone, so this is the first video on the channel of many where I'm going to be talking about my first couple weeks or first impressions of my MG ZS EV. So let's get started. So my first impressions on the vehicle at least are absolutely brilliant. It's very well equipped. In comparison to my old Hyundai i20, it has a lot more equipment, a lot more automatic equipment as well. Not to mention the safety equipment is fairly useful. The blind spot monitoring did take me a little bit of time to get used to. The problem is that I always assume that it's indicated, but it's, you know, for a car this size, I don't know how actually I would be able to really live without it, especially coming from a smaller super mini sized car. In terms of other equipment, you know, it's got auto lights, auto wipers, adaptive cruise control with lane keep assist. I think that's part of the MG Pilot package. It's got DAB radio, which I've now found why everyone loves it so much. And it's got Android Auto. I'm definitely on record of saying that if it didn't have Android Auto, I wouldn't buy the car. It does, so hence why I bought the car. In terms of range, on my first day, I did a journey of 50 miles A roads, B roads, and 70 miles motorway. Did that absolutely no problem at all with 25 miles range remaining. I think by the 25th mile standpoint, I think it was on the last bar, which is about 20-25%. In terms of build quality, that is pretty spot on. Bear in mind, my Hyundai was very well built, but the interior felt very cheap, especially the lack of soundproofing. On the motorway, it would be screaming at 3,000 RPM. It's almost silent. You know, the motor's not producing any sound, and the wind noise has definitely been, you know, reduced with additional soundproofing. But in terms of the, you know, refinement and overall build quality, there are bits where you touch, not on a very regular basis, which are cheap. You know, the top of the doors, I guess, you know, as you go sort of below the center console. But in terms of, like, for example, the bits where you rest your arm, the steering wheel, the pedals, the seats, it feels absolutely fine, especially for a car which, you know, is competing with sort of family cars anyway. You know, MG or SAIC have done an extremely good job in making sure that this car is a nice and pleasant place to sit. And is also, you know, hopefully should be, you know, reliable enough to keep going for a few years. So first impressions have been absolutely brilliant. So a couple downsides with the car, I guess. Are they downsides? It's a bit difficult to tell, but I thought I'd lump them into this section. The chimes. Now, you would have heard that in the intro. I'm not gonna lie, you know, every time I hear it now on the motorway, it probably gives me some level of anxiety now. But I don't quite understand why you can't disable a lot of the warning chimes, especially things like the ready chime, or the fact that it thinks I've left my key in the car. The lack of app and preheat, I guess, is it a downside? Yes. I obviously was expecting it not to have an app, but the thing is that a lot of electric vehicles in this sort of market segment do have apps, like the Renault Zoe or the Hyundai Ioniq. Well, the new Hyundai Ioniq at least. And the main benefits is you can monitor charge and preheat. Now, preheat's a bit more important on this vehicle, although because of the resistive heater. The Renault Zoe and the Ioniq have much more efficient heat pumps. Does it particularly matter in terms of defrosting? Probably not. You know, this car defrosts in a matter of minutes, you know, a couple minutes, rather than, you know, my Hyundai, sorry, which would take 20 minutes to even get the engine to a meaningful temperature, you know, to start defrosting any of the windows, other than the windscreen. So, does it really affect me on a daily basis? No. On the other hand, you know, it's simple physics that at the end of the day, because you can't leave the car unattended, or else it'll beep at you because it thinks the key's still in the car, or at least I haven't figured that out. whether you can sort of turn on the car, leave it to it while still charging and drawing power off the mains to preheat. Let me know in the comments if anyone's figured that out without climbing through the boot. That's another thing that someone suggested. But yeah, the lack of the app, I mean, luckily a couple open source, such as the Open Vehicle Monitoring System, a couple people are working on that software, which is brilliant. And I'd love to sort of beta test it as it comes out. So realistically, there are only two downsides really, the bonging and the lack of app. And well, I think that goes to show, you know, for a first attempt on an electric vehicle, MG really have knocked it out of the park, really. So finally, I think I'd probably go on to my plan for this channel at least. So the plan for this channel is to do semi-regular updates regarding sort of my adventures driving with the MG. For example, I would like to sort of go over sort of like the cost benefit and analyse whether there is a cost benefit of using an electric vehicle on much longer trips in the UK. Obviously for town driving, it's fairly obvious that there is a huge financial incentive to drive as well as an environmental and health incentive to drive an electric vehicle. But for longer trips in the UK, that's what I've noticed people are a lot more concerned of. So in terms of that, there'll be a long trip back down to see the family for Christmas. I'll be at least recording that on the dash cam that I've installed and sort of doing a timer lapse and explaining, okay, here's where I've stopped, here's where I've charged. Maybe also go over charging rates. Also, I would absolutely love to plan a European road trip. Now, I've always wanted to do a European road trip. The main reason why I haven't done that is mostly because of the cost. To drive a petrol and diesel vehicle across Europe, costs a significant amount of money in fuel. Whereas now with an electric vehicle, especially with, the Shell Recharge card, which allows me to access a lot of the European network as well as the UK network, okay, it is slightly more expensive than charging in the UK, especially on the Polar network, which I've now subscribed to. I'm on the Polar Plus subscription. It will be so much cheaper that it becomes financially affordable. Not to mention the cost savings by using this car over the year will easily pay for that holiday as well. So there are major advantages. Also, it's going to be quite interesting because that's the first time I've ever driven in Europe on the right-hand side of the road in a right-hand drive car. And hopefully I'll be able to sort of do sort of a vlogging experience. I guess it's going to be kind of like a cheesy travel blog, realistically, because I am going to be out there for maybe a few weeks to a month. So let's wait and see. So to sum up the video, yep, I've had the car since the 7th of December 2019. I've done 500 miles in it, well, 557 to be exact. Genuinely, this car has been absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to sort of share the journeys. Hopefully I'll see you next time.